Let's get started. We're going to call this Finance Committee meeting for Glynn County to order. Time is 2 o'clock, Tuesday, August the 27th, 2019. Any additions to the agenda amendments? I see we have one.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask that we move our law enforcement folks up. So they're not here. Sheriff, we could put him, and Chief, and the Fire Chief, move them up and get them out of here.
Second.
We have to make a motion for that.
Okay. But I think you do have an item to add to
Yeah,
the agenda.
and also include in that item 3.1 to the agenda for consideration of changes to the check signing policy, allowing for the designation of the finance manager to assistant county finance manager in the event the CFO or the county manager position is vacant.
Second.
There's been a motion and seconded to add 3.1 to the agenda around changing the check signing policy. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay. Item 2, the minutes from the previous meeting. Any corrections or issues with that? No. Not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move we approve.
Second.
It's been motioned and approved the previous minutes. All in favor, raise your right hand. Item 3, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners. We're going to hold up on that. We're going to move the sheriff up.
The last shall be first.
Yes.
Something in the Bible about that. I think somewhere about that anyway.
Item 29, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners authorize the issuance of a purchase order to Atkins Ford for 7 2020 Dodge Charge Pursuit vehicles utilizing state contract in the amount of $198,947, and the balance of the $25,332 will be used to purchase additional components and equipment, with all funding provided by FY20 Capital Projects Fund. Sheriff John.
Sorry, Chairman, have a line or something.
That's all right.
Thank y'all for seeing me today. This is part of the budget that we'd requested in the capital fund, which is the purchase of 7 Chargers. It's purchased under the state contract. They'll be coming from Macon Ford, $188,947 with $25,000 remaining of gauges, equipment, lights, and that sort.
Okay. Any questions for the sheriff? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to recommend the Finance Committee approve the purchase order of 7 2020 Dodge Charger Pursuit vehicles in the amount of $198,947, and the balance of $25,332 will be used to purchase additional components and equipment, with all funding provided by the Capital Projects Fund.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded that we recommend a purchase order for 7 2020 Dodge Charge Pursuit vehicles for the Sheriff Department. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. Please excuse me.
You can be excused, sir. Go get them.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, and let's see. Item 28. Consider recommending the Board of Commissioners approve the agreement for use of subscription material with Lexipol LLC, and approve the issuance of a purchase order in the amount of $18,210 for the purchase of the initial service and 1-year subscription, with funding to be provided by the FY20 Police Fund. Chief Powell.
Yes, sir, Chairman, Commissioners. This is a program that we're asking consideration for. Will help us monitor our policies and procedures to help keep them updated. As you know, that's a yearly process. Right now, we're manually having to go through the policies and procedures to try to keep them updated with new court rulings, case law, new laws that change, yearly. This will help us stay ahead of the curve. It's a It's an excellent system that's being used by multiple agencies across the country, and it has been calculated and figured into the budget that's been approved by the commission.
Okay. Any questions regarding the subscription?
I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners approve the agreement of subscription material for Lexipol LLC and approve issuance of a purchase order in the amount of $18,210 for the purchase of the initial services and one-year subscription with funding provided by the FY20 Police Fund.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we recommend for approval agreement for subscription for materials with Lexipol for the police department. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Thank you for your consideration.
All right. Thank you, Chief. And let's see, we had
15 and 16.
15. Okay, item 15, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners approve collection agreement with Bull City Financial Solutions for debt collection services, pending approval of the County Attorney's Office. Chief Jordan.
Afternoon, Commissioners.
How you doing?
This agreement was put out through the RFP process. It is for collection services, covers the entire county. It is primarily for ambulance billing. We have a large percentage of self-pays, and we have some outstanding balance. And that is the reason. The current contract expired 17, I believe. So we've been using it without a contract. This is rebid.
Okay.
Chief, I think on page 56, we finally got to the price or something. I've
Yeah,
never seen
yeah, I was gonna ask.
20%, is that what, and then the other bid was 24%?
Yes, sir.
What they-
It was, there were two, the second bid, one was as high as 35% with litigation. This was,
Yeah,
Bull City was the
without
cheapest.
litigation, it's 20%. That's,
So that's 20% of what they collect?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
they keep 20% of what they collect.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
all right.
And this was approved, or got an email back from Will as this went through the RFP process. He said it did not need to be corrected for attorney for form.
I'll tell you one thing, they didn't miss a trick in there. I move to approve a collection agreement with Bull City Financial Solutions for debt collection services pending approval of the county attorney's office, which has been done.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded that we approve the agreement for collection services with Bull City Financial. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay. All right.
I think you got another one.
You got 16.
Oh, yes, sir.
Consider recommending the Board of Commissioners approve the issuance of a purchase order utilizing state contract number 99999. Isn't that somebody ran for office? SPD E540199409-0002 to Hardy Chevrolet, Dallas, Georgia, in the amount of $37,309 for the purchase of a 2020 Chevrolet Tahoe Battalion Chief Response Vehicle to Hardy Chevrolet, with funding to be provided by the FY20 Fire Fund budget. Chief Jordan.
Yes, sir. This is a replacement vehicle for the battalion chief. Right now, the vehicle's current has about 160,000 miles. It'll be moved into reserve status or used as a school car, and this vehicle will be placed in its place to be run every day.
You say a school.
We send a lot of students to Forsyth, and we send all of our paramedic students to Savannah,
Okay.
and they have to have transportation.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners, the Finance Committee approve the issuance of the purchase order utilizing state contract applicable number here to Hardy Chevrolet in Dallas, Georgia, in the amount of $37,309 for the purchase of a 2020 Tahoe Battalion Chief Response Vehicle with funding provided by the Fire Fund budget.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we recommend for approval the issuance of a purchase order for a Chevrolet Tahoe Battalion for the fire department. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Commissioners,
Right.
thank you.
All right. Item 3, Consider recommending the Board of Commissioners declare the unusable items listed on the attached page as surplus and approve disposing of these items in the best interest of the county. Mr. Mayor.
This is a list sent over by the Fleet Department, items that are ready to be surplus and disposed of or sold. Everything looks within the matrix. Don't see anything out of line on these.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions about the list? Not?
I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners declare the unusable items listed on the attached page as surplus and approve disposing of these items in the best interest of the county.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded that we declare the unusable items listed as surplus. All in favor, raise your right hand. Item 3.1, this is concerning the check policy, changing the check signing policy. To Mayor.
We are asking to change the check signing policy that would give us a little more flexibility in adding signers to the account, to allow for the finance manager or the assistant county manager to be added to the bank account to be a signer in the event that the CFO position or the county manager position is vacant. What has happened in the past is we have to try to hit the meetings just right. So if someone leaves on a certain day, we have to try to get to the board or have a special meeting to get a new signer added to the account, because as of someone's official last day, they can't sign checks anymore. So we just wanted to have these two backups in the policy that would allow us to add them as needed, but they would not be the primary signers, only in the event of vacancy.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions around this? Just want to make sure somebody don't sign a $2 million check before they leave on the way out the door.
One of the signers. I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners accept the recommended changes to the check signing policy allowing for the designation of the finance manager or assistant county manager in the event CFO or county manager position is vacant.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded that we change the check signing policy as presented today. All in favor, raise your right hand. All right. Item 4, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners authorize payment of excess tax proceeds from the tax sale of parcel number 03-17686 in the amount of $1,556.60 to Britton A. Smith, attorney at law, on behalf of Sean R. Johnson and Cindy T. Johnson.
Commissioners, I'll handle this one and the next one. So this is one of those periodic excess tax fund claims that we get. There was a tax sale. Whoever was the highest bidder at the tax sale paid more than the taxes that were owed, and the law says that the person who was the owner at the time of the tax sale is entitled to those overage funds. We've received a claim from Britt Smith on behalf of his clients. They provided us with a title opinion and an affidavit stating that they are the owners at the time of the property. Everything appears to be in order, and it's our recommendation that you approve this payment.
Okay, Commissioners, any questions?
No, I move we recommend the Board of Commissioners that it authorize payment of the excess tax proceeds from tax sale of parcel ID 03-17686 in the amount of $1,556.60 to Britton A. Smith, attorney at law, on behalf of Sean R. Johnson and Cindy T. Johnson.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded that we recommend authorization of payment of excess taxes as presented in item 4. All in favor, raise your right hand. Item 5, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners authorize payment of excess tax proceeds for tax sale of parcel number 03-15865 in the amount of $2,073.32 to Welch and McQuigg LLC, New Jessup Investment, Inc.
So another tax overage claim, Commissioners, they again have provided us with a title search indicating these folks were the owners at the time of the tax sale, and that they're entitled to the funds. And Mr. McQuigg, who represents the claimants, is here if you have any questions for him. But again, it's our recommendation that the board make this payment.
Commissioners, any questions?
I move that we recommend the Board of Commissioners that it authorize payment of excess tax proceeds for the tax sale parcel number 03-15865 in the amount of $2,073.32 to Welchel McQuigg LLC on behalf of New Jessup Investments Incorporated.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded that we recommend authorization of payment of excess taxes as presented in item 5. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay. Item 6, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners approve the Blythe Island Regional Park Campground Host Agreement with David Minshew. Ms. Lisa.
Good afternoon. We're coming before you today to ask your approval to enter into a short-term campground host agreement with a gentleman named David Minshew to help offset some of the duties and tasks that are performed at the park. Things like mowing, marina operations, boat launch, restroom maintenance, things like that. In exchange for the 2-month period, Mr. Minshew would be allowed to live on site at the park at no charge for the weekly rental. He would work approximately 30 hours a week during this 2-month period, and again would help us with help our staff maintaining the park. It's open about 98 hours a week. We currently have 4 full-time employees who are assigned to work outdoor park operations. It's an 1,100-acre park, and it's very challenging for the 4 full-time staff who work 40 hours a week to be able to adequately cover the operations with marina, restroom maintenance, mowing, keeping the campgrounds clean and that sort of thing. So we thought this is a good opportunity for us to have a trial run with Mr. Minshew for a 2-month period during the kind of closing out the busy season as we try to make sure that we're able to get to the daily things that need to be done as well as the bigger projects that need to be done. Because what happens with the park being as busy as it is, the staff that are on duty, the full-time staff, they're so busy taking care of the immediate needs, if you will, of the park patrons that we're not able to get to some of the projects that need to be done at the park. Some of the clearing and cleaning and tree removals and limb removals and inspections and things like that. So taking this gentleman and allowing him to do some of those day-to-day things that serve the day-to-day park patrons by launching boats, selling bait, cleaning restrooms and things like that will allow some of the full-time staff to focus on some of those larger park projects that are more intensive and take more time than just a few minutes here. They take days to do or a couple weeks to do.
In addition
Go ahead.
Sorry.
I was saying, in addition to the 4 full-time employees, you have others that live at the park and have the same arrangement?
Yes,
How many
sir.
are those, 4?
We have 2 campground hosts currently who are full-time year-round that we're in current agreements with. They have the same arrangement. They work 30 hours a week in different capacities, and then in exchange for that, they are given a waiver on their weekly camping rate at the park. They provide their own RVs, and they do live on site. Being at the park, while it's not necessarily open to the public after 8 o'clock, it is open as far as having guests on site, year-round in the evening hours. So the other campground host, and this one as well, will help provide some evening security, weekend security, after-hour security, and troubleshooting when things arise. That each day there's a sign on the door that tells which campground host is the one that's on duty and where they can be found and located, so that a camper can call them if it's after hours and the campground office is closed or the marina is closed.
I see we've got an indemnification clause and a hold harmless clause here. How would fixed on workman's compensation on something like this?
So these folks are
Contractors?
independent contractors, so they're not covered
So
by
you
it.
don't have to, you don't have any liability there.
Correct.
We did do a background check on him.
Yes,
That's
sir,
all that.
we did, and he came back clear, yes, sir, as we do with the other 2 hosts as well. Now, again, this is just a short term, this is a 2-month trial period, and if it is successful with this gentleman, what I would likely propose is to come back to you next early spring and propose a longer short term, that would be like a 6-month period. And basically what that covers is the mowing season primarily, because there's a lot of grass to mow, there's a lot of weeds to be edged, the beach, it starts getting busier and busier with the weeds growing up through there, so a lot of that park maintenance. So I don't feel like we need another year-round host to cover the operations, because it does slow down a little bit in the winter, but I feel like, you know, riding out the end of this season, and then also, if it's successful, coming back to you with a proposal for 6 months.
Well, I go back to the liability part. This guy hurts and runs over somebody with a lawnmower, or drops a boat, or whatever. I mean, it's held, the county's held harmless in here, but I can assure you that the county will be sued if there is a problem out there with a contractor. I mean, it's our insurance cover something.
It would, you know, that's assuming that we're not covered by sovereign immunity or any of the other defenses that we have under the law. But yeah, there is a risk, you know, and then these folks are.
Well, I mean, I know we have independent contractors all the time,
Right.
But they're a little more, they carry their own insurance. This guy doesn't have.
Right, so that is a risk that we run here, is that, you know, indemnification and hold harmless is only as good as the ability of that person to hold up their end of the deal.
I got you.
So, yeah, that's some risk that we undertake in these kinds of scenarios, is that, you know, if the person doesn't have the means to actually indemnify or hold us harmless.
How long have we been doing this?
I believe that the contracts with the other two have been at least for 4 or 5 years.
Commissioners, I've been here almost 15 years. I think we've been doing it since I've been here. I think we used to call them the Night Ranger. So I know that's been a long-standing.
Okay. All right.
And we recognize that the odds of getting another employee to help with these kinds of things is pretty slim. I mean, we seem to find other ways, creative ways to try to make do and get our work done. So
I don't have any problem with what you're doing. I mean, I think it's a good idea. I just want to make sure we get into our knitting here from the liability side. I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners approve the Blythe Regional Park Campground host agreement with David Minshew.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded that we recommend approval of the campground host agreement as presented in item 6. Raise your right hand and approve. Okay. Item 7, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners approve or deny a fee waiver for United Way of Coastal Georgia, Inc. in the amount of $300 plus the $100 deposit and the cost of staff time for use of the 3 ball fields at Mallory Park on Saturday, October the 26th, 2019, for the purpose of fundraising kickball tournament.
Commissioners, the United Way of Coastal Georgia has approached us again about a fee waiver for their annual kickball tournament. They're having it in October, and so we're bringing this forward for your consideration. As an FYI, in 2018 and in 2017, the Board of Commissioners did approve fee waivers for this purpose, so we're just bringing this to you for your consideration.
So how, is it growing? How many teams did normally
I
have?
believe they have about 8 teams. They may be hoping for 10 this year.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, Commissioners?
I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners approve a fee waiver for the United Way of Coastal Georgia in the amount of $300 plus $100 deposit and the cost of staff time for the use of 3 ball fields at Mallory Park on Saturday, October 26, 2019, for the purpose of a fundraising kickball tournament.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded that we recommend approval of a fee waiver for United Way of Coastal Georgia as outlined in item 7. All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you. Item 8, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners approve or deny a request from Mr. Brian Scott Hyde that he paid in fees, interest, and penalties in his 2016 property taxes on parcel number 03-12267 in the amount of $146.01 be refunded.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Arlene with the Tax Commissioner's Office, and I'll start off by reading the summary that Mr. Hyde has presented to us, and what it's stating is, the property was purchased in 2016, was reappraised. At the time of our purchase, the amount billed and paid was 85% because of a reassessment request. After the review, the former owner allegedly received a notification of the reassessment and amount due, but did not forward to me. We paid the amount due on our 2017 and 18 property tax bill. There was a note on the bill saying there were delinquent taxes. We paid the bills and assumed the past due amount was included in our invoice, which it should have been. What billing entity would not have included past due amounts on the invoice? Glynn County Billing System should have notified us, the property owners, at the time of the reassessment, and should have included the past due amounts in our 2017 or 2018 invoices. It failed to do either. So that's what he's stating.
Let me just,
Yes, sir.
just for my clarification. He went down and appealed his taxes, and I assume, appealed his appraisal, and I assume we
The
lowered it.
former owner.
The former, and we lowered it. And so you send out a tax bill in the amount of 85%
To the former owner.
to the former owner. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And then the remainder, whatever comes out there, you pay that after the fact. Yeah,
Yes, sir. That's it. And so in researching the matter, what we found out was the 85% bill, the 2016 85% bill was sent to the former owner. Mr. Hyde purchased the property in October, so his attorney paid the 85% bill. We adjusted the new bill in November. About 3 weeks later, we still had no former owner information, new owner information, so that bill was sent to the former owner as well. We implemented different things to try to inform the taxpayer that there are delinquent taxes. So we pulled the 17 and 18 bill, and there is a note on the bill. Each bill stands on its own. 17 bill has nothing else but 17 information. 18 bill has nothing but 18 information. But we implemented on here that this property has delinquent taxes on both 17 and 18 bills. He said he saw the statement, but he thought that this was included some type of way. So that's where we are with this, and pending your decision.
All right. So Scott?
Thank you. That was a good summary. I appreciate that. Thank you. So just to reemphasize a couple of the facts, I never was billed for the amount that was balance due after the 85% closing. So I'm a man of sound financial principles. I always pay my bills. I never received a bill in this case, so I didn't pay it. And if you look at the invoices, she presented some that were in black and white, but in color, there's a lot more activity. It almost looks like a CVS receipt. You know, it's really busy, and I go to the bottom line and say how much is due, and that's what I pay. And that's what I did in every case for the past 22 years I lived here in Glynn County. So in this particular case, I'm just asking for a little leniency and consideration of the fact that I was never presented an invoice to pay.
Did you ever call the tax office to find out what that statement meant on the bill?
No, sir, I never did.
Okay, but you did understand that it was delinquent taxes?
I really didn't understand that. I saw that on there, but as I said, I've always paid everything.
No, I'm saying the statement.
The statement, I did not realize that that meant that I owed more money, because I always paid from the closing, and every invoice subsequent to that, I always paid what was on the invoice.
And I'm the same way you are about paying my bills. At least got money, I try to pay them. But and it is confusing, that 85%. When you go down to have something reevaluated or reassessed, you get that 85% bill. It's out of sight, out of mind. You pay it and move on. To make you feel any better, I had 3 of those year before last that I did exact same thing and wound up having to pay our problem is setting a precedent, and I paid mine. And, you know.
Yeah, I guess my concern is that we know that if you don't pay your taxes, there's some real bad issues with it. So I'm going to make sure if I see a statement on and I mean, we all get that same tax notice. I'm going to make sure if I see something like that on that. And like you said, you are somebody who pays their bills. I'm just curious why you didn't call to make sure of that. That's what I would have a problem with, approving a refund, because you do seem like somebody who's competent and follow up and pay his bills. But normally folk would just try to make sure they have all the information, so they wouldn't overpay. That's, that would be one of mine, especially if I, just got the property from somebody else or something. But that's my concern.
I appreciate your consideration.
I recommend we deny a request from Mr. Brian Scott Hyde that he be paid in fees, interest, and penalty for 2016 property taxes on parcel 0312267 in the amount of 14602, not to be refunded.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded that we deny the request for refund as outlined in item 8 to Mr. Scott. All in favor, raise your right hand. Sorry, Mr. Scott. Item 9, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners approve real and personal property corrections and exemptions as recommended by the Board of Assessors and the Chief Appraiser at the Thursday, July 25th, 2019 meeting, with clarification that this does not approve a tax refund. Hey, how you doing, Ron?
Good.
Thank goodness it doesn't.
Corrections from the Board of Assessors, July 25th, and only one item. Try to answer any questions.
Well, I think you explained it to me when I called you today when I saw the
Yeah.
shell shock there, when I saw that. But it makes sense. This is
Yeah, I didn't
this
get a
is
chance to.
equipment. It's inventory equipment that they didn't have January the 1st, and so that's I thought the thing was the whole property out there.
Yeah,
I assure you
that's,
this.
so what happened?
So this was, the date evaluation is January 1 of 2018, and they didn't start the full business until shortly thereafter, and so they only had a partial inventory list. So they didn't file a return, so we force placed 1.5 based on uniform rate, and that prompted them, when they saw that prompted them to say, hey, look, we need to get the information to them, and so that's how we.
So you were provided the detailed inventory?
Yeah,
of the,
as of January 1.
the knives and
then
hammers and whatever,
also
saws
we've got
and
a
whatever else
yeah,
they use.
inventory list for 2019, which is a lot higher, closer over the 1.5 million.
Mr. Chairman, based on the explanation of the tax assessors, I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners approve the real and personal property corrections and exemptions as recommended by the Board of Assessors and Chief Appraiser at their Thursday, July 25th, 2019 meeting, with clarification that this does not approve a tax refund.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we recommend to the commissioners to approve real and personal property corrections as outlined in item 9. All in favor, raise your right hand. All right.
Thank you.
Budget and grants. Item 10, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners amend the FY20 budget to include the attached list of prior year budgeted items that were not expended or encumbered in FY19. Mayor.
This is our carry forward list for non-encumbered items, which means it was budgeted, but it was never, a contract hasn't been awarded yet or a PO hasn't been issued. These were items that were planned. Most of the items on this list are grant related or capital related. We do have one item that is a project that was not grant or capital related that we're asking to carry forward. But other than that, everything is as presented as capital or grant items.
Okay. Yeah. Any questions on the list, commissioners?
No.
I'll entertain a motion.
Hold on a second, I'll get there.
Can we make a motion?
I would also like to note that there will be another carry forward coming forward at the September meeting. This is the bulk of it. There were a few grants that we have not been able to get completely reconciled yet, but this is the bulk of the carry forward. So I wanted to get these done prior to me leaving.
Okay.
I recommend to the Finance Committee, recommend to the Board of Commissioners amend the FY20 budget to include the attached list of prior year budgeted items that were not expended or encumbered in FY19.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded that we recommend the commissioners amend the FY20 budget to include the list of prior year budgeted items that were not expended or encumbered. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, item 11, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners amend the FY 20 budget to include the attached list of prior year encumbrances that were outstanding at June 30th, 2019.
So these are items that we had already issued POs for before the end of the year that had not been fully paid or received. So these are just items that we had already committed to pay. I will say that we went through our outstanding PO list with a fine-tooth comb and closed several $1 million worth of open POs that were just sitting there that were not going to be expended. So this was what was left after many, many days worth of research to determine if these POs were still needed or not.
Okay, now, the part that there was several sitting there that were not going to be expended.
Right. So often at the beginning of the year, a department might get a purchase order to buy concrete for the year, and they buy concrete as they need that concrete throughout the year. And when it comes down to the end of the year, there might be $10,000 left sitting on that purchase order. So we did not allow the department to carry forward that $10,000 to spend it in the next fiscal year. We said, if you already have a budget for concrete in fiscal year 20, we're going to close the FY19 PO. If you had $10,000 left, that's great, but you already have a budget for fiscal year 20. So we were able to get a lot of open POs off of the list and not just, we didn't just bring them forward. We analyzed every single purchase order before it was brought forward for carry forward.
Okay, and so what happens to the $10,000?
It would be released from encumbrance, and it would be a positive to the fund balance of whatever fund that purchase order was in.
Okay, all right, commissioners?
I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners amend the FY20 budget to include the attached list of prior year encumbrances that were outstanding at June 30th, 2019.
Second.
It's been motion and seconded that we recommend amending the FY20 budget to include the list of prior year encumbrances that were outstanding at June 30th. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, item 12. Consider recommending the Board of Commissioners accept the grant funds of $2,000 from the Communities of Coastal Georgia Foundation, increase the Glynn County Animal Control's FY20 revenue and expenditures budget by $2,000 each.
This grant was provided to Glynn County Animal Services from the Coastal Georgia Foundation, and we did not apply for this grant. This is just part of one of their endowments, and they offered us the $2,000 to be used for costs associated with the care, feeding, and medical attention of sheltering stray and unwanted dogs in Glynn County. So this money would just increase our expenditure and revenue budget in animal control and allow them to take care of additional needs.
Mr. Chairman, I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners accept the grant for $2,000 from the Communities of Coastal Georgia Foundation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the grant of $2,000 from the Communities of Coastal Georgia Foundation for the purpose outlined in item 12. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, item 13. Consider recommending the Board of Commissioners authorize the county chairman to execute the FY20 Metropolitan Transportation Services contract between the Georgia Department of Transportation and Glynn County for funding in the amount of $119,709.20. Stephanie.
Good afternoon. Stephanie Leaf, Planning Manager, filling in for the Development Director, Pamela Thompson. And this is the annual contract for PL funds for our Metropolitan Planning Organization. And the local match of $23,955.84 is typically covered with in-kind staff time. So that's how we have been covering that. And our request is to authorize the chairman to sign this contract.
Commissioners, any questions? Contract.
I move to authorize the county chairman to execute the FY20 Metropolitan Transportation Services contract between the Georgia Department of Transportation and Glynn County for funding in the amount of $119,779.20.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded that we recommend the commission authorize the chairman to execute the FY20 Metropolitan Transportation Services contract as outlined in item 13. All in favor, raise your right hand. Item 14, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners authorize the county chairman to execute the FY20 Transit Planning Assistance Contract between the Georgia Department of Transportation and Glynn County for funding in an amount of $47,861, subject to the county attorney's approval.
Thank you. So this is for transit planning for fiscal year 2020, and also, like the last contract, the local match will be in-kind staff services. So our request is to authorize the chairman to sign this contract.
And Commissioners, our office has approved this as the form, so that last part about us approving it's not necessary.
I move to authorize the county, the chairman to execute the FY20 Transit Planning Assistance Contract between the Georgia DOT and Glynn County for funding in the amount of $47,861.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded that we recommend to authorize the county chairman to execute the FY20 Transit Planning Assistance Contract as outlined in item 14. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Contracts and procurement, item 17. Consider recommending the Board of Commissioners approve the agreement with Equity Cash Systems, which will provide the county $1 of each $3 transaction fee, and authorize the staff to sell the ATMs to Equity Cash Systems. Tamara.
So this is something we've been working on for quite some time, about 6 or 8 months. I've provided you some details on the amount of revenue that we get from the ATM machines. We currently have 4 ATM machines in the county. 2 of them are at the detention center, 1 is at the courthouse, and 1 is in the Pate building. We earned last year about $7,800 in commissions, and we spent about $5,200 in taking care of the machines between staff time and we have to get a police officer to accompany us to the bank to get cash and bring them back and fill the machines, and then we have to go back to the bank with the cash that was left. And it's a lot of staff time that is incurred both for us and someone in public safety. Either Jay Wiggins has gone with us a few times, or one of the sheriff's deputies, or one of the police department's officers. So when we did some research into this, we found that we would really about break even by outsourcing this work to another company. They would buy our machines from us, continue to service them, and we would take our money out, they would put their money in, and they would do all the reconciling and provide us a $1 off of each $3 fee. So we would basically break even without having all of the staff time involved of handling these machines ourselves. We did put this out and requested quotes from vendors. I asked for 4 quotes, and I had two that declined to quote because the commissions earned off the machines is not high enough for them to mess with it. 1 did not respond at all, and then the 4th one is a local company, and they said that they really, they see that the commissions are not extremely high, but they would be proud to serve the county government and have a part in that by taking over these machines. Finally, the last item for consideration is that the asset disposal policy states that we should dispose of items by selling them through approved online auction site or other approved means. So I'm asking the commission to consider allowing us to use the other approved means in this instance to allow this company to take over those machines and buy them from us.
What do you get for them?
They are offering $1,000 each for 3 of them, and they are offering $1,200 for the 4th one. which is a little newer. Most of these machines are over 5 years old, and I think the one that they're offering $1,200 for is about 4 years old. These are not currently on our asset listing because the value is below $5,000. I believe we purchased them for around $3,800 5 years ago.
How do we document the transactions and that money?
We currently have a report that we pull that shows us everything that happens through the system. We pay another company, ATM Worldwide, who we bought the machines from originally, and we have an online service with them, so it gives us a detailed transactions of everything that happens, and then someone in finance actually has to reconcile every transaction that's coming through the machine to make sure we get their money from their bank and that we get the fees appropriately. And it's a multi-day process every month of reconciling these machines. Not to mention just the filling and when they go down, having to deal with the vendors to get them fixed.
So the only thing we deal with now is the transaction, how many transactions.
Right, so they'll just send us a report of the number of transactions and the total commissions, and they'll give us a check for a third of it.
I can't believe you want to discontinue this profit center. I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners approve the agreement with Equity Cash Systems, which will provide the county $1 for each $3 transaction fee, and authorize the county staff to sell these great machines to Equity Cash Systems.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded that we recommend approval of the agreement between Equity Cash Systems as outlined in item 17. All in favor, raise your right hand. Item 18, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners approve the officials agreement with Gold Coast Officials Association to provide officiating services for Glynn County Recreation and Parks Department youth football games for the 2019 fall season in the amount not to exceed $18,000 with funding to be provided by the FY 2020 Recreation Operating Budget. Ms. McManus.
So we are coming forward to ask for your approval of an officials agreement for our youth football program. And this is very similar to the one we had last year. The agreement has been reviewed and approved by the county attorney. And it basically the same terms as last year, where the association books the officials, and then they send us a bill, and then they get 15% of the total cost for each of the invoices that they send us. And we did not quite make the $18,000 yet last year, so I feel like that's another good dollar amount this year.
Do we have police walking through these games?
Once
Just
we get
my side question.
The games will be
Parents can
starting
get too pretty
later.
involved.
Yes, sir, you're right. And yes, sir, when the game schedule is ready, which we just started practices this week, so when the game schedule is ready, we will certainly be in touch with the police about our schedule and ask them for assistance in walking through.
Okay. Any questions, commissioners?
I move recommend the Board of Commissioners approve the officials agreement with Gold Coast Officials Association to provide officiating services for Glynn County Recreation and Parks Department youth football.
Second.
So motion is seconded that we recommend approval of the officials agreement with Gold Coast Officials Association as outlined in item 18. All in favor, raise your right hand. Item 19, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners approve the officials agreement with Golden Isles Soccer Officials Association to provide officiating services for Glynn County Recreation and Parks Department mainland youth soccer games for the 2019 fall and 2020 spring seasons in the amount not to exceed $15,000 with funding to be provided by the FY 2020 Recreation Operation Budget.
The soccer officials agreement is proposed as it is to be covering the fall season and the spring season. If you recall, last spring we implemented spring soccer for the first time, and we had about 200 youth in that program, and we do anticipate a higher level of participation in the coming spring. So we'd like to go ahead and have this be a year-long contract for both seasons. And these folks have done it for us before, and they do a really good job. And this would be just for the mainland games. The St. Simon's League, they book officials independently, single, because they have fewer games, and so those officials are booked separately. So this would just be for the mainland league.
We got 2 soccer fields out there or one?
2 soccer fields at
North Glen.
really, there's 5, but yes, sir,
I
that's,
mean, but
yes,
actual soccer,
yes, sir.
2.
We use those, but then we chop them up, so it's hard to tell how many, but like the full size, yes, sir. But with the little ones, we use the smaller sided fields.
I got you.
I meant to ask this earlier, because I asked you this the other day, and the purpose of using these official associations, I mean, you have a purpose for using that. Can you explain what that is?
Well, it's a couple purposes. One, having qualified, trained officials kind of lends some quality to your program, because you've got folks that know the rules, that are out there to enforce them and teach the young players the rules of the sports, for football and for soccer. It's challenging with what they do on St. Simon's, but they have so fewer games they can do it when staff is spending the time to independently book these officials or to find volunteers to come out and do that. So it kind of lends that. It also kind of helps the economy a little bit, because oftentimes some of the officials are young people that are out getting some work experience, because we allow folks, if you can referee a game that's like with an age group that's 5 years, 5-year separation. So a 15-year-old could come out and referee a 9 and 10-year-old game and make a little money and get some work experience and that sort of thing too. So it kind of helps with that as well. But it also helps with what you were mentioning earlier with game control, crowd control a little bit, to have qualified, trained officials out there on the fields.
Yeah, I tell you, it makes everything better.
I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners approve the official agreement with Golden Isle Soccer Official Association to provide officiating services to Glynn County Rec. Parks Department mainly use soccer games for the 2019-2020 spring season, fall and spring seasons, in the amount not to exceed $15,000 with funding provided by the rec operating budget.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded that we recommend for approval the officials agreement with the Golden Isle Soccer Officials Association as outlined in item 19. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, item 20, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners approve the bait sale agreement with Ronnie Barwick to provide local bait for resale at Blythe Island Regional Park, with funding to be provided by the Recreation and Parks FY 2020 operating budget.
Well, Ronnie's going 50%, 60%, 70%. We're going to give him all of it in a couple of years or what?
Well, it's very interesting. So back in May, we wanted to have a meeting with Ronnie because Ronnie wanted to increase his bait prices. And so I did some research and discovered that the Board of Commissioners, obviously, well before y'all's time on the board, did make an agreement for bait sales to be at fair market value. And so then that brought the discussion of, well, who sets the fair market value? And so we started looking for the agreement with Ronnie. Well, there was no agreement. There's never been an actual written formal agreement with Ronnie. So sometimes he was being paid 60%, sometimes he was being paid 55%, sometimes 65%. It depended on the different bait that he actually provided to the county, whether it was live shrimp, dead squid, dead shrimp. So thank goodness there's some people that have access to some files from way back in the early 2000s, and I got a hold of some Blythe Island Advisory Board meeting minutes and found where there was some discussion about working with Ronnie to provide bait for Blythe Island Park as far back as 2001. So when I asked Ronnie if he had an agreement with the county, he said, I do. I said, well, can I see it? He said, well, it's a verbal agreement, so there's no seeing that, obviously. So then continuing the research, we found that the Blythe Island Board, and obviously that's not the appropriate board to make these decisions, but they did, agreed to to increase his fee from 50% of the sales to 60%. So that was back in 2003, and it's pretty much been hovered in that range pretty much ever since then. So we thought, as we move forward with a formal agreement with him, we felt like it would benefit him, but also the county by having a predetermined set amount for whatever, no matter what bait he's providing for us. He's had a great year. So our revenues actually from fiscal year 18 to fiscal year 19 went from 60,000 in bait sales to 80,000. Yes, sir. He had a really good spring at a time when bait was very scarce. He was able to find it and provide it, and we, obviously we get that percentage back in there. Ronnie provides his own boat. He provides his own insurance for that. He does all the work, and the only thing that he doesn't do is actually sell the bait. I mean, that is what we do as our staff. And so we're thinking, if we can have program instructor agreements with our tennis instructor, yoga, Tai Chi, swim lessons, where they're getting 70% of the revenue that's coming in, we felt surely this maybe would be the time to increase this for Ronnie. Ronnie did not ask for it, I will tell you that. That was not something that he came to us and said he wanted an increase. So it's kind of on us as a show of the trust that we have in him to continue to provide bait for us at that park, because there's not a lot of
Well,
people
it sounds
out
like you
there
may have been getting it
that do
at
this.
times.
Well, the Florida
Yeah.
bait is a whole different matter when he's had to provide that, but in the time that I've been here, he's not had to travel to Florida to get bait, so most of it's been local. I think in past years, there's been times when he's not been able to provide bait because it's just scarce. I mean, it's a very a wavering business. It's very so much dependent on the environment and what's going on.
So Ronnie gets 70% of the gross. You got
So I
6
thought it
pounds
was-
of dead shrimp laying there that you throw out. Ronnie's out of that. I mean, he doesn't.
He's just out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just got, he just takes it off the gross revenue, and we got dead shrimp, and we throw them away
Well,
or eat them.
We sell. We pack them up and sell them. We do. We sell dead shrimp. There's
Yeah.
different rates for the dead shrimp versus the live shrimp, and also this agreement. And Claire in the county attorney's office was great to help us craft this agreement. But it does, if he doesn't catch, if something goes wrong with the bait container, it's on Ronnie. It's not on the county.
I'm all over it. Yeah,
But,
great.
All right, let's get this
old Ronnie-
agreement
Get old
for
Ronnie
Ronnie.
getting some shrimp out here. I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners approve the bait sale agreement with Ronnie Barwick to provide local bait for resale at Blythe Island Regional Park with funding be provided by the Rec Parks 2020 operating budget.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded that we recommend for approval the bait sales agreement with Ronnie Barwick as outlined in item 20. All in favor, raise your right hand.
thank
All
y'all.
right.
Learn something new every day.
Yeah. Okay, item 21, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners award a contract for the September 2019 asphalt patching project to Georgia Asphalt Producers, Baxley, Georgia, in the amount of $73,836 with funding to be provided by the FY20 General Fund Public Works Operating Budget. Mr. Austin.
So this is a hot mix patching on roads in the county. There's 12 different spots. And what we did is we, various sizes, and we put them all out for bid to have a contractor do them, because typically we don't do hot mix asphalt. They do a lot better job. And is this all of them? No. We've got more of them. Do we have enough money? No. We could use more, but we're going to stab at these. And if more come up during the course of the year, you might see me come back here and ask for more, but this will deplete our asphalt budget for this year.
Commissioners, any questions on the hot mix patching? Whatever Mr. Austin said.
And on the back side shows the locations on the sheet. That sheet there.
Your turn, Commissioner O'Quinn.
Oh, sorry.
You're over there with the sheriff, thinking about something.
Well,
You want me to get it?
yeah, go ahead.
I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners award a contract for the September 2019 asphalt paving project to Georgia Asphalt Producers in Baxley in the amount of $73,836 with funding to be provided by FY General Fund Public Works Operating Budget.
Second.
It's been motion and second that we recommend Commissioners award a contract for the asphalt patching project to Georgia Asphalt Producers as outlined in item 21. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Thank you very much.
Item 22, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners approve the AT&T for IP Flex SIP SIP Internet Transport and Bandwidth on Demand contracts authorize the chairman to sign as the subscriber.
Good morning, or good afternoon, Commissioners. Of David West in Network Engineer in the IT Department. And so what you have before you today is the request to renew. There's no new funding, no additional funding. It's already budgeted for it. But the contract we currently have on these circuits is a 36-month contract. We'd like to renew it. So So what we do with these contracts is anywhere where we can't utilize our private fiber for communications, we have to lease lines. So for instance, to talk to Savannah for the radio system, we have to lease the fiber optic circuits from AT&T to do that. And for providing our telephone numbers to the different buildings, we have to lease SIP circuits that ride over the internet. So the county attorney has reviewed the 2016 agreements, and he's also in the process of reviewing these as well. So our request is to renew for an additional 36 months.
What's the, you said it's already budgeted, but couldn't quite find the cost. What's the yearly cost? What's the cost that we're associated? You're saying it's already budgeted, but there is a cost, right?
Yes, sir.
And what is that?
The cost we currently, it's wide range. We have internet circuits, we have bandwidth on demand circuits. We currently fund about $150K a year for different circuits. So each circuit is different. So some may be as little as $200 a month, or we may have some circuits that are over $2,000 a month.
And how do you keep track of all that? I mean, where is all that information that we could look at? I mean, that's, I mean, that sounds like a...
Sure, we could provide you. What we have is a web portal.
Uh-huh.
AT&T has gone, everything has gone over the cloud. So AT&T has a web portal. We can pull the circuit IDs and the funding off of that, and we also keep a spreadsheet. So we could provide you with documentation showing you the different buildings.
You feel comfortable the circuits that you're leasing are circuits that you need, or we don't have an issue of circuits or something that we're not really utilizing, is that correct?
That's correct, yes. We disconnect circuits that we don't use, and we monitor that daily.
Okay. I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners approve the AT&T for IP Flex SIP Internet Transport and bandwidth on demand contract and authorize the chairman to sign it as the subscriber.
Knowing that you understand all that, I'll second it.
It's been motioned and seconded that we recommend commissioners approve the AT&T contract as outlined in item 22. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, item 23, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners authorize the purchase of Microsoft Enterprise Agreement renewal from Dell Marketing LP in the amount of $200,968.08, with funding to be provided by the FY20 General Fund Information Technology Department's operating budget, and sign the enterprise update statement to confirm no increase in number of licenses.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Deborah Bragdon from the IT Department. This is a request for the year 3 payment for the Microsoft Enterprise Agreement, and it's for our Office 365, our Exchange license. We signed a 3-year agreement in 2017, and this will be the final year. The cost is like $200,968. The original contract was $196,000, and then we had to true up license when we got all our license. We had to true up like $24,000, so that's why it's like $200,000. But it is in the budget, and we're requesting to renew this year for approval.
Commissioners, any questions around the enterprise agreement?
How many licenses do we have?
This is like 1,035 license, but that doesn't mean that's how many users we have, because like some license might be like jobs at Glynn County. If it's a mailbox that must be, somebody must review, then we have to have a license according to Microsoft.
Yeah.
So there's like 3 different tiers in here. Some of them are the whole Office suite, and then some of them are what they kind of call a kiosk, just a web-based email account. So it's the way Microsoft does it. It's a little confusing, but we do keep up with it, and we use Microsoft products to keep up with our license.
How do you, for lack of a better word, audit this? I mean, how do you go back and see that everything is still the way it should be that was put in place a year or 2 ago? Or I'm just kind of curious.
Well, we know how many users we have. We can look at how many email accounts we have in Exchange. we have to have, we can't add like a position without having a license to give them without buying one because Microsoft won't let us, because everything's done through the cloud now. So it's, so pretty much, we know, we know who's needing to use the Office whole package. So, yeah, we just do it internally.
So we're not overpaying for this stuff.
No, sir, we're not overpaying. Microsoft likes to get money from the county.
Yeah.
And they require a
They got it
license, and
from
we have to
everybody.
be in compliance.
But you go back and check their figures. When you say there's a true up, you're like, okay, yeah, this is
We
right.
give them the number for the true up, and this year, we're not truing up any new license. But yeah, the county tells them how much we need to true up.
I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners authorize the purchase of the Microsoft Enterprise Agreement renewal from Dell Marketing LP in the amount of $200,968.08 with funding to be provided by the FY20 General Fund Information Technology Department's operating budget, and sign the Enterprise Update Statement to confirm no increase in the number of licenses.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded that we recommend commissioners authorize the purchase of the Microsoft Enterprise Agreement renewal as outlined in item 23. All in favor, raise your right hand.
You know, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recommend the chairman that we have a work session with IT 101 and sort of give us an overview. I mean, you might as well be speaking Swahili.
We actually are in the process of getting together. We have a committee that's working on a presentation for you. In fact, when you see the next item on the agenda, you're going to know why, because, and reading the news.
Yeah, I was going to ask about
In
that.
Atlanta, $20 million trying to get their stuff back.
Yes, so we're in the process of putting something together for you guys to present to you.
It's not a ransom amount, is it?
It's pretty scary.
I feel like I'm there.
Okay. Item 24, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners authorize staff to implement the FY20 Information Technology, Cybersecurity, and Network Infrastructure Cost Schedule by issuing a purchase order to Cisco DSI utilizing the state contract in the amount of $149,157.42 with funding to be provided by the FY20 General Fund Information Technology budget.
And like Commissioner Brinson was just mentioning, and this is specifically for hardware, software licensing for cyber security protection. And as you can see, for email security, spam, spyware, advanced malware protection, and additional firewalls to help, to prevent an event like we've been seeing on the news. So
I'm surprised not more than that. I mean,
well,
this
this is just 1 year. We do this. We have been doing this for 7. We're in year 7 of doing this. So when you accumulate it all, we spend a couple $1 million already in hardware, firewalls, malware protection.
banks do the same thing
Absolutely.
on steroids. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
How many attacks does the county
I
get?
was just thinking the same thing.
Today, it's 30,000 sometimes attempts a month, but specific events that we've had to mitigate already today, 3, I think. So it's getting worse and worse and more. So it's not going away.
I probably report to David at least 2 to 3 times a week attempts to write bad checks or, just email attempts just from my account. So.
The devices in place they're mitigating, when I say 30,000, there's no way a human could do 30,000, but the devices are actively engaging that many a month, that many attempts. But physically we have, like I said, we've worked on 3 this week so far, or 3 today.
Yeah, especially when you have whole countries really sanctioning this stuff. So.
I move directly to the Board of Commissioners authorize the staff to implement the FY20 Information Technology, Cybersecurity, and Network Infrastructure Cost Schedule by issuing a purchase order to Cisco DSI utilizing state contract in the amount of $149,157.42 with funding to be provided by the FY20 General Fund Information Technology budget.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded that we recommend the commissioners authorize staff to implement the information technology security, cybersecurity and network infrastructure cost schedule as outlined in item 24. All in favor, raise your right hand. All right. Item 25. Consider recommending the Board of Commissioners approve change order number 014 from Benny Construction Company for a total of $2,950.75, and change order number 015 for a credit of $1,628.44 for a new contract amount of $2,554,122.12, with funding to be provided by the Capital Outlay Grant from the Georgia Public Library Service and the Glynn County FY19 budget being carried forward to FY20. Ms. Mullis, how you doing?
Good, how are y'all?
All right.
Yes, so we're still finishing up the construction project. There's a couple things still working on, signage, the handrails have to be replaced, some punch items. Nothing that kept us from opening in April, but these are some finished items that due to the construction company's timing and my maternity leave, I told them they had to wait. So now that I'm back, I've seen everything, we've got the last change orders.
Okay.
Well, how are the children?
How are the children? Doing good. Oh my gosh, Maggie Lou's so funny. She's the 2-year-old. She's doing really good with Collins, the 3-month-old now. So, yes.
I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners approve change order number 014 from the Benning Construction Company for a total of $2,950.75, and change order number 015 for a credit of $1,628.44 for a new contract amount of $2,554,122.12, with funding provided by the Capital Outlay Grant from the Georgia Public Service and the Glynn County FY19 budget being carried forward to FY20.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded that we recommend the commissioners approve the change orders outlined in item 25. All in favor, raise your right hand. All right.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good afternoon.
Okay.
Late.
Item 26. Consider recommending the Board of Commissioners authorize awarding the contract for engineering services for drainage basin concept planning Golden Isles Parkway project to Pittman Engineering with funding in the amount of $42,660, of which $35,550 bid plus 20% contingency to be provided by the Splash 2016 drainage projects, Golden Isles Parkway extension drainage improvements. Hi.
Commissioners, Paul Andrews, County Engineer. Item is as represented. We've gone out for a contract under a SPLOST 2016 project. We've gone out for an RFP under a SPLOST 2016 project to do some drainage master planning as the first step to provide for drainage up in the area north of Highway 99 along Golden Isles Parkway extension.
Is Pittman someone we used before?
He is not.
Where's he based out of, or where are they based out of?
He is up in Richmond. I believe it's Richmond Hill. He has a very long history in the area working for, he worked for Thomas and Hutton for a while and then went into municipal services as a county manager, city manager, and a administrator, but decided to hang a shingle and get back into the engineering side of things.
Okay.
Good bit less than everybody else.
He was, and enough to make me worried, and so I called him and spoke to him, made sure that he was comfortable with the quote that he gave us. He said he was familiar with the area from previous projects and felt that his company could provide the services that were asked for that price. The 20% contingency that I'm asking to also include in this is at this concept level, things tend to, scopes tend to shift sometimes. As we get into it, things get discovered that weren't recognized as we're putting together the project. And so we wanted to have some additional money set aside in case there were areas that we wanted to say, while we're in here, it would make good sense to include this. I had included an area.
Was it 20% applicable to the rest of the folks as well?
That was not part of it. That's part of my request to provide additional funding at this time for that project.
I mean, he's still with the 20%.
Yes, sir. That wasn't part of the RFP process or anything. That's my request, so that if we wind up finding that additional work needs to be done, I can get some minor work done additional to the contract, not have to come back to y'all for another amount of money.
Commissioners, any additional questions, concerns?
Is a 20% contingency, is that typical when we do things like this?
I typically ask for it, yes.
You typically ask for it? Okay.
Well, you have, I have the same reservations you do. I'll move to recommend the Board of Commissioners authorize awarding the contract for the engineering services for drainage basin concept planning Golden Miles Parkway project to Pittman Engineering with funding in the amount of $42,660, $35,550 bid plus 20% contingency to be provided by SPLOST Drainage Projects Golden Miles Parkway Extension drainage improvements.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded that we recommend commissioners authorize awarding the contract for the engineering services for drainage basin concept planning Golden Isles Parkway project to Pittman Engineering as outlined in item 26. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Thank you.
All right. Item 27, our last item.
Your concern was the low cost?
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, he seemed pretty confident.
Yeah, you got it.
Item 27, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners authorize the county manager to execute the attached contract for professional services related to an impact fee program with the cost not to exceed $76,450. Hey, Stephanie.
So I know the county commissioners have had a few work sessions on this topic, so I'm sure you have a lot of the background, so I won't go into that detail, but this contract does have a scope of services or scope of work that's attached to it. They are planning to start in September if this contract is authorized, and although the contract does run for a year, they anticipate it would be about 6 months or so it would run through, so I'm happy to answer any questions.
Impact fees, how they normally structure, you know, Stephanie, you familiar with that at all?
That is something that they would be reviewing, and so part of their data gathering and then figuring out the methodology that would work best for our county. So they will be looking at it countywide. I don't know if there's anything. I'm not as familiar with this as Pamela is.
All right, well, I remember his presentation.
Not 2 hours.
Right. And so, but that's I know we need to look at this, so I don't have a problem with that. I was just curious if we just tack on an amount depending on the dollar amount of the project, or what, but.
Right, and that's what they would look at, is what would make the most sense here, but that, yeah, typically is.
And that's something that we can't do internally, correct? It's my understanding that there are state guidelines that we have to comply with when we're writing this.
That is correct, and I know Mr. Ross, I mean, he's renowned throughout the state for working on these in a lot of other communities, so he's extremely familiar with the process.
It was interesting, the breakup of the committee that's required by the state. Builders, contractors, real estate developers. I mean, it was required by the state. you know, we've talked about these impact fees for a long time, and we're probably way late in being able to address infrastructure. that-
Yeah, yeah, which we gotta do.
You know, yeah, which we got to do at some point. You know, that's just not,
Okay, well,
David, I know you had some.
Well, I mean, did we have an idea on the costs going into this? I guess after we talked to Mr. Ross in the work session, he kind of gave us an idea where he was going to come in on this. That's just sort of surprised me. But, I mean, understanding the scope of the work has helped me accept it a little bit better.
any other concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
County staff recommends the Board of Commissioners authorize county manager to execute the attached contract for professional service related to an impact fee program with a cost not to exceed $76,450. And I understand that was budgeted this year. So,
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded that we recommend the commissioners authorize the county manager to execute the attached contract for professional services as outlined in item 27. All in favor, raise your right hand. All right. Anything that should be left off for consent?
Mr. Chairman, I'd take that last one off. I mean, I'd put it on general business, just so everybody sort of gets up to speed on impact fees.
Yeah.
Where we are and
Okay.
what we just did,
All right.
or what the board is going to do potentially.
All right. Item 27, Tamara. Put that on general business. Anything else? All right. We're adjourned.